the best DCP talk show where everything is recycled except for our topics. Today we have a very special episode because it is a custodial episode. Everyone loves custodians, so today our special guest is Andrew Homan. Give it up, everybody. Andrew.
Thank you, John.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Let's go ahead and tell the audience, the live studio audience behind the camera, tell them where you work and what you do.
So I am a custodian in Magic Kingdom, specifically in Tomorrowland.
Perfect. So we're having the double custodian episode because our new fall arrivals are starting to come in, and everybody on the Facebook page is asking questions about custodial, what it's like, what we do, what the hours are like, what we wear, all kind of good stuff. So I'm resort custodial, Andrew's park custodial. We're gonna get the whole spectrum today. We went on Facebook, asked y'all to ask some questions, and we're gonna answer them now. So let's just get right into it. First question is, what seems to be the average amount of hours for park custodians? So Andrew, you're a park custodian, so go ahead.
You know, it really varies depending on the time of year. Around July 4th, I was getting scheduled 50, 55 hours. Went down to 40. Now, because the Spring Advantage CPs have moved out and we're waiting for you guys to move in, I'm back up to about 50 hours. But once it settles down, you'll be right around 40, 45 hours. But there's always opportunity to get more or less hours if you want that.
Right, and even though this was a park-specific question, for resort, I get 40 hours minimum every week. Every shift is 8 hours. You're not going to get 6-hour shifts or 14-hour shifts like you do in the parks. Every shift is 8 hours, and I always work at least 5 days a week. This week I'm working 6, so I'm getting a little bit of overtime, but 40 hours is what you're going to be working. Next question. What are the uniforms like and job duties like at the resorts? Is it different than the parks? All the parks have the same custodial uniforms, but the resorts change up their custodial uniforms to fit their theme. My resort uniform is just white with some blue lining. It's very simple, but there are some other really cool resort custodial uniforms. Mine just doesn't happen to be one. And what else did they ask? What are job duties like? So we can go park and resort for this one. I'll go first. Duties, it depends on your location. When you work resorts, you have 3 possible locations, and within those 3 locations, you have 3 roles that you can be. You either work halls, which is your lobby, you work pools, which is the pools, or you work trash, which is trash. And if you're working halls, you'll either be on restrooms, male or female, or you'll be main hall. This might be different for different resorts, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty standard for all resorts. If you're in restrooms, you take care of one of your restrooms, and then you have a section of the lobby you take care of. If you're halls, you have a big section of the lobby you take care of, and you do a lot of trash and wiping down tables and like bussing the quick service outside area. If you're pools, at least for my resort, this varies a lot with resorts. With my resort, you're either, which is Pop Century, you are either Nomad, which takes care of our 2 smaller pools on either side of the resort, Hippy Dippy, which is our main pool in the center, or your groundskeeper, which takes care of basically the perimeter of the resort, the parking lots and the promenade, the walking path. And when you're there, when you're at a pool, you're making sure the fresh towels are stocked, you're making sure the dirty towels aren't full, you're basically checking the area, checking trash, cleaning tables. You have a laundry room that you gotta take care of, but that's super simple, you don't have to do it much. And if you're Nomad, you have the bathrooms in the laundry rooms that you gotta take care of, but pool bathrooms never get busy, so you never really clean them too much, so it's not a big deal. My favorite shifts are the pool shifts because I just like being outside by the pool and it's a lot of fun. But trash is straightforward. If you get a trash shift, you're assigned 3 buildings, and all you do is hop in your Pargo, drive to the buildings, fill it up with trash, go back, compact it, back and forth all day long. It's a super easy shift. I've never personally worked any except for in training, but it's a super easy shift, but it can just get very boring. So that's very borderline, or not borderline, that's very base level role or duties that we have to do during the day. There's a lot more that we can do that if we get called to do things or our coordinators want us to do things, yada yada. But overall, it's very simple. Like I would say 30% of my day is cleaning, the other 70% is just talking with guests, walking around, interacting with people. So I have fun with it.
Yeah. And then as far as parks go, you do a lot of those same things, but because of D-Clean now, which if your area, especially in a park, does not have D-Clean yet, it will soon, you're going to have variance throughout the day. So in a given day, I'll be doing trash runs, I'll be cleaning bathrooms, I'll be bussing tables and stuff like that. So trash run, you can typically get a 6-can trash run. They're usually in the same area. And you just go pull the 6 trash cans, take it to the compactor out back. If you clean a restroom, you're going in there, you're scrubbing all the toilets, you're cleaning the diaper changing table, restocking things, mopping, pulling trash. And then for bussing tables, depending on the section of tables, you may also have to pull the trash there. My favorite is when I'm bussing tables because that's an area that has a lot of guest interaction. You're not going to interact with guests much while you're in the bathroom. It can be a little awkward. I've tried it. It doesn't really work well.
Sometimes it's fun to force conversation in the restroom though, because clearly no guest wants to chat it up in the restroom. So if I'm bored, I'll like force people to talk to me in the restroom.
Last night I was closing one of the restrooms and I was in there during Happily Ever After, and there were just these 2 guys in there going to the bathroom during the finale, and after I was like, guys, you missed the grand finale. They laughed about it, so it wasn't too bad.
Overall, the Custodial, you can make it as fun as you want. Like you surprisingly have a lot of downtime, or at least I don't know about in the parks, but
it depends on how busy of a day.
At the resorts, you have a lot of downtime, especially if your pools and it's raining and the pools are closed, you have a lot of downtime. So you can make it as fun or as boring as you want. Is if you have a positive outlook on it and you want to make positive guest interaction, then you can have some really awesome guest interaction. I've got families that I've talked to one day just like in the laundry room because it was raining, and then like a couple days later they'll run up to me and like start talking to me about their day like I'm part of their family, and like they wanted to tell me how awesome their day was and all that.
That's a really cool thing the resort has that parks don't. Right. You get the return back on those interactions much more often than you do in the parks. I talk to probably a lot more people in the parks than you would to at a resort, but most of it is just quick conversations in passing.
Right. You get a lot of longer guest interaction at resorts because people aren't in a rush, in a hurry to get to their fast pass, or where's this I need directions to this, or where's the parade, where's this quick service. You get to just like sit down and chat with people because half the time they're just hanging out by the pool or doing their laundry, they're just there to chat. So that's what I like about Resort Custodial. I've never worked park custodial, I really want to, but since D-Clean is a thing now, it's kind of very hard to, if not impossible. But we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, you guys will get it soon, I'm sure.
I hope so.
I heard that after they do all the parks, they're probably going to go to Disney Springs and then the resorts.
I hope so.
That's my guess, at least.
With how much Disney praises efficiency, you would think everybody would be on the same thing. You wouldn't have people having to be trained for certain things to go to different places. Alrighty, let's move on. This question says, what kind of shoes do you use for custodial, and what do you think is the best part of the role? Shoes for custodial, once again, I don't know about the parks, but they give you shoes.
They do for parks as well.
Right. They're like just plain black non-slips or no slips. I just found out that we don't have to wear them. As long as we wear just plain black, straight black shoes, it's fine.
I know for parks they still have to be non-slip shoes, but you can get your own shoes. What I would recommend is just getting your own insoles. Like the insoles that they provide, they're not great. So go buy your own insoles, put them in, because that helps a lot.
Right. Even though we can wear other shoes, I still wear the no-slip shoes just because they were given to me. And like when you're custodial, sometimes you have to deal with gross stuff, and I don't want my shoes to get gross, my personal shoes to get gross, so I just wear the no-slips. As far as what is the best part of the role, the best part of the role for me is the freedom, at least, because like when you're custodial, especially in the resorts, you have ultimate freedom to go anywhere. Like you're assigned your area, but one of our like 5 core principles is you don't point a guest in the right direction, you escort them to where they need to go. So if somebody needs something in the lobby and you're at the pool, you can take them to the lobby. Like you don't have to stay in your area. And also, if it's super hot and you need a breather, you can go backstage. You don't have to be bumped out or bumped on, yada yada. Then we have our assigned break times, but you can still, you have the freedom to just go chill if you need to like cool down for a bit. So like just the freedom of custodial is really nice. You're not just like pinned down to one spot standing there. So, all right, yeah, go through how many, all right, cool, go through how many, where's your fast pass, or you're a lifeguard and you're just sitting there watching water. You can just wander around. You're just like the face of the resort. You're that person for the guests to come to and talk to whenever they need help, which that's my favorite.
Definitely. I mean, the freedom is great. I mean, I've taken guests over to Main Street to take them to the first aid area. I've taken them to Fantasyland. I haven't gone like all the way across park from Space Mountain to Splash Mountain yet. I feel like I got to do that at some point.
Yeah.
Just be like, because you get asked all the time how to get to Splash Mountain. One of these days I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm just gonna, take a nice 30-minute stroll with you over to Splash Mountain. For me, it's definitely the guest interactions. Like I said, when I'm bussing tables, that's the most fun because there isn't a checklist of things that I need to do real quick. It's kind of maintaining that area. And so just, I love when little girls walk up, they're in their dresses, you just get down on their level, you go, hello princess, hello Cinderella. One time I made a really cheesy joke about how a girl's sandals were more functional than glass slippers, especially in the park. Like, just talking with little kids, giving them stickers and stuff like that, it makes the day go by a lot better.
Right. And part of the freedom allows you to make a lot more magical moments because honestly, you'd be surprised of how like little you have to do to make a magic moment for people. Because a lot of people, when they're coming into the DCP, they think magical moments are just giving people free stuff. Like, hey, here's a free cupcake or yada yada. That's a magical moment. But you can just like doing something for somebody, like small, can be a magical moment for somebody. And one of my favorite things to do is in the resorts, we have our Pargos, which are just like golf carts that we drive around. And when you're Nomad or groundskeeper, you're in your Pargo almost all day long because Nomad has to bounce between both of the quiet pools and groundskeeper is driving around the resort the whole day. So one of my favorite things to do is when people ask for directions and like the place they're trying to go is all the way on the other side of the resort, I'll just be like, just hop in my Pargo and I'll drive you there. And like,
oh, that's cool.
They think it's the coolest thing in the world. They're like, whoa, really? And I'm like, yeah, man, just hop in, we'll cruise around. And they're like, oh, this is so cool. And like, I'll just be like, hey, just rate me on Uber, give me 5 stars. And I'll even give them like a whole like, keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times before we start moving.
Safety begins with me, right?
Safety begins with me.
Yes.
So you'd be surprised of how little, because a lot of people, when they get into their role, they're like, I don't think I can make magic, or how do I make magic? I'm a lifeguard, I stand on a stand all day, how do I make magic? You can make magic in so many different ways. You just gotta have the willingness to explore your possibilities of how to make magic.
That's really true. Going off of that, stickers are extremely powerful. I really underestimated the power of stickers. On 3 separate occasions, kids were throwing temper tantrums, and I stopped it. Just immediately stopped it with stickers.
Right.
Like when I'm a parent, I'm just gonna carry around stickers everywhere.
All right, so this is more of a park question, and we kind of already touched on this, but he says, any idea when all the parks are getting D-Clean? Go ahead and explain what D-Clean is first, and then talk about the parks getting D-Clean.
So D-Clean is an app through which you get your assigned tasks. So basically, at the start of a shift, you walk out, and it just, if you don't have a task, you're just sweeping around the park. Sweeping around your zone, picking up ice cream spills, trash, and stuff like that. And then, I'll be sweeping for 10 minutes, and my phone will go off, and it'll give me 6 cans to pick up, or it'll give me a bathroom to clean. So it's just the way in which you get your tasks. The big difference from D-Clean to non-D-Clean zones in parks is that before you would only do streets, which is sweeping and bussing, or only do restrooms during a shift. Whereas now you're doing all of those in one shift, which I really like because what you're doing in the day, it switches it up, and I think that helps the shift go along quicker.
Right.
And it also does really help with efficiency, especially at closing, because there are sensors in the trash cans to show how full they are. So it's not just going to be every hour these cans go out to get pulled. Once they hit, I think it's like 50%. I don't know how exactly it works.
Right.
But once the can hits 50% or so, then it'll get sent out within a task to get pulled. So that way you're not going and pulling trash cans that don't need to be pulled. And at the same time, you're not going to come to find a can that's overflowing. So that's really what helps with it. So right now, Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios both have D-Clean. They are in the process right now of teaching classes and rolling out D-Clean at Ep.2. Did it roll out this week?
I believe somebody who works in Future World said they just got D-Clean training. So it's just Future World. It's
just
not
Future World.
World Showcase.
But next will be World Showcase, and then after that, I'm assuming they'll go to DAC. I don't know the timeline or anything like that. It's just kind of, I'm assuming they'll just train people, they'll roll it out, and then move on to the next location. For parks to, I don't know if the water parks will use them, Disney Springs and the resorts.
I would hope eventually everybody would get on D-Clean, because
I think that's the plan.
I know a lot of people are asking this. If you are a resort custodian or a water park custodian or a Springs custodian, you can't pick up D-Clean shifts unless you're D-Clean trained. And getting D-Clean trained is pretty much impossible, because the way, if you want to get D-Clean trained, your home location would have to pay for that training, because it would have to be a training day. Your home location would have to pay for that training and approve that training and find a place in your schedule for that training. But you'd also have to find someone who's able to train D-Clean, who's willing to find time in their schedule and make time for you to train you in D-Clean. So it's like a whole big process, and it's basically impossible. So it's kind of upsetting that I'll probably never get to pick up a shift in MK or Studios or probably any of the parks, because they're going to
get... You can get in DAC.
I can get in DAC, but it's very rare that I find a DAC shift opened up.
But I mean, once you get in your location and once you go through your training and get settled, talk to your leaders. That is one thing, like the leaders, the coordinators and stuff, at least in Tomorrowland, like they're there to help you. So like talk to them about different opportunities that you're looking for, because they're usually, it depends on the leader and the coordinator, but if they can set it up for you, they'll try to.
Right. Let's see. What happens if you work in the parks, and I'll assume the resorts too, and it starts raining? Do you just keep going, or are you supposed to find shelter? If you want to start?
Sure. So if it's rain, you just keep working. You'll get a poncho. Make sure when you go to costuming that you get the poncho. I did not get it the first day, and then luckily somebody told me before I really got started. But you'll have a poncho that you can put on. If it starts thunderstorming, so if there's thunder and lightning within a certain radius, there's a code that's called 101, and that essentially means that if severe weather is in the area, and that's when you have to be undercover. Which in Tomorrowland, like, you can be under as little cover as the people mover. You don't need to be in a building necessarily, but you'll be undercover whenever you're 101. And then once you go 102 again, that means you can go out from undercover. But there have been some pretty strong rains where I'm doing a trash run and you're just wearing your poncho, or you're not wearing your poncho. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't care at this point, I'm just gonna get soaked.
Sometimes it's the same for the resorts, but we don't really have I'm assuming y'all get told we're 101 right now, right?
So that's the other thing with D-Clean, is it's not just an app for tasks, it's also for communication. So my phone goes off and there's just a notification that says severe weather's in the area.
Okay. At the resorts, we don't really have 101. They don't say hey, we're 101 right now, get to shelter. We just have a use your best judgment kind of mentality. So if you're in the Pargos, you're in a giant metal vehicle. So if it's lightning in the area, just don't go out. That's how they say it. Just stay in the break room, stay somewhere else, don't go out, don't do something stupid and get hurt. If you're at the pools, when the pools are off, when the pools have to close down, if the lifeguards aren't allowed on the pool deck, we're not allowed on the pool deck. So when the lifeguards go 101, we basically go 101. we still have our laundry room and our bathrooms to take care of, but when it's completely storming outside, no one's outside. So I just kind of hang out and talk to the lifeguards and mess around. And we're in like a really rainy time right now. And like the other day I get to work at 4 and our pools don't even open until 8:20. So the first like 4.5 hours of my shift, I was just kind of like walking around, chatting, talking with guests.
Yeah, during hurricane season, you go 101 almost every day.
Right.
A lot of times it's just for 30, 45 minutes, but even still.
Pretty much every day it rains, so you kind of go 101 a lot. But custodial is expected to work rain or shine. So if it's just like barely sprinkling, you're still expected to be out there. But if it's lightning, then obviously you gotta get out.
Yeah.
Alrighty. This is our last question, and I think it might have some repeated questions in it. Let's see, what does your typical week look like? We've already talked about our basic roles, so I guess we can talk about like our scheduling.
Yeah.
So my scheduling is like, this is the big difference between park and resort custodial. My scheduling is super consistent. Andrew over here will sometimes have 6-hour days, or he'll have like 3 14-hour days in a row. Like I get 8 hours every day, and this week, or the week that just happened, I worked 4 to 12 every day, except for my 2 off days. 4 to 12 every day. Yeah. So that's the main difference. Is like resort custodial hours are super consistent. Park custodial, depending on the park, you could be working a lot.
Yeah, it really depends. Every day is different, every week is different. Today I'm working 6 to midnight. I think on Wednesday I'm working from 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. So it varies a lot, which that's something that took a little bit to get used to, is the inconsistency in the schedule. Different off days every week, that's just kind of the way it is. It's something you gotta accept.
Right. All right, and we're gonna hurry up with this last question because our battery's about to run out. We've already kind of answered this, but can you pick up shifts anywhere? Basically, to keep it simple, if you're D-Clean trained, you can pick up D-Clean shifts. If you're not D-Clean trained, you can pick up anywhere that doesn't use D-Clean. So if you're not D-Clean, you can still pick up any of the resorts, Disney Springs, their water parks, and DAC and World Showcase for now. So that's the custodial episode. I hope it helped you out. I hope we answered as many questions as we possibly could. If you have any questions or any topics that we want to talk about in a future episode, put them in the comments below. Feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. Andrew, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We'll see you in the next episode. My battery's about to run out, and we got to go to work soon. So see you later on
Trash
Talk.
On Trash Talk.
All right, Mr. Andrew, thank you. One last thing to say. If you're coming into the fall program and you're bummed about being custodial, don't be.
It's the best.
Custodial is a lot of fun. Sometimes, my only gripe with custodial is sometimes it can be lonely, because especially, I don't know about the parks, but if you're working at a resort, you're alone when you work 9% of the time. So just as long as you make friends with the lifeguards and the children's activities people and the merchandise and the caricature artists, front desk, concierge, everybody, you have the freedom to chat with everybody. Custodial is a super fun role, and every role has its ups and downs, and custodial has a lot more ups than it does downs.
It really does.
When you talk to the people in other roles, custodial is a breeze.
Cleaning up vomit is not that bad. It's worth it.
It's super easy, and I've had 2 code Vs since I've been here. I don't know how many you've had.
I've had 3.
And we've been here 2 months, and we've had 2 code Vs, and
not bad.
I had mine like within the same week, so it's very rare.
Also, I don't work in Fantasyland.
Right, so it depends on where you work. I'm sure if you work outside of Mission Space or somewhere like that, you get a lot of code Vs, but I've only had 2, he's only had 3. So don't be worried about custodial. Custodial is a great role. Have fun on your program. Can't wait to see you. If you see me or Andrew in the parks, feel free to say what's up.
Hit me up in Tomorrowland.
Have a good day. Bye.